July 2025. A massive earthquake will rupture the seafloor beneath the Pacific Ocean. Mere minutes later, a colossal wall of water, towering up to 120 meters, will rise from the depths and crash into the coastline, swallowing more than one-third of Japan's landmass. This is not a scene from a disaster movie. It is a prophecy, written down more than 2 decades ago. The final dream of a reclusive Japanese illustrator named Tatsuki painted a haunting vision, a sky darkened by tsunamis, 2 enormous sea dragons rising from the abyss, and a new continent emerging from an ocean of blood and ruin. The most chilling part: 12 out of her 15 prophetic dreams have already come true. If all of this is real, then this coming July could mark the beginning of an entirely new apocalyptic cycle. Have you ever wondered, what if the most terrifying future was already foreseen long ago? What if certain people, hidden, unknown, were given the power to open a door into what's to come? The story you're about to hear is not just a prediction. It is a map of the future, drawn in cryptic images, confirmed by real earthquakes, and echoed by natural signs growing harder to ignore. This is not conspiracy. This is an unsolved mystery. And we're moving closer to its center, day by day. So fasten your seatbelt. Because the terrifying prophecy of 2025 is beginning to unfold. She was not a scientist. Not a mystic. Not a celebrity with a televised following. On paper, she was merely a quiet manga illustrator, living in the peaceful suburbs of Japan. Her name was Tatsuki. Or at least, that was the name she chose to sign on the pages of her prophetic comic. In 1999, Tatsuki self-published a small, unassuming manga titled Dreams of the Future, a collection of 15 strange dreams she claimed to have seen repeatedly, somewhere between sleep and waking, over many years. There was no marketing, no media. The booklet was printed in limited numbers and quickly vanished among the thousands of other manga titles lining Tokyo's bookstore shelves. But then, the terrifying part began. The first dream in her book spoke of a global pandemic. And in 2020, COVID-19 struck the world. No one paid attention. Until the second dream came true, a massive earthquake in Tohoku, Japan, in 2011. A tsunami engulfed entire cities. Thousands perished. The images from her comic matched the reality uncannily, from the height of the waves to the desperation on people's faces as they fled in vain. As time passed, Japanese internet users began digging through her old work. Dream by dream, civil unrest, political chaos, aviation disasters, they started checking off the events. And to their astonishment, 12 of the 15 dreams had come true almost exactly. No one knew who she really was. No one knew where she had gone. All that remained were her soft pencil strokes, the haunting eyes of her characters, and a single line scribbled at the end of the book. I didn't draw these from imagination. A silver-haired man appeared in my dreams and showed them to me. I only recorded what I saw. From that moment, Tatsuki vanished from every public platform. For over 20 years, there was no trace of her, until one mysterious reappearance in October 2022. Not an interview. Not a photo. Not even a social media post. She simply re-released the same prophetic manga. But this time, she added a 16th dream. The final vision. A warning about a massive earthquake and a cataclysmic tsunami set to occur in July 2025. Alongside the new dream came a new cover illustration. A young girl, who had been crying in the original edition, now stood smiling under a blood-red sky. Behind her, collapsed buildings faded into the sea, which had begun to pull back, revealing a new landmass rising from the depths. Why did she choose to return now, after decades of silence? And why was this final dream so much more terrifying than all the ones before it? Unlike her earlier dreams, often symbolic or cryptic, Tatsuki's 16th vision was disturbingly direct, vivid, and precise. It wasn't just a scene. It was a full-fledged catastrophic scenario, complete with a specific date, a time, and apocalyptic imagery too clear to ignore. At exactly 5 a.m. on July 5, 2025, a tremor will erupt from the seafloor off the southern coast of Japan. Within minutes, the ocean begins to boil. Two enormous sea dragons emerge, entangled, from beneath the surface. And then, a roar so loud it shakes the sky. Her illustrations depict the sky torn like red fabric, cities swallowed whole, humans swept away like sand grains. In the waves, skyscrapers tilt and vanish in an instant. The tsunami is drawn towering, massive, it blocks out the sun. And the most chilling detail? The wave won't strike from one direction. It will come from all sides. As if the ocean is collapsing in on itself. A frightening prediction. But shockingly, it aligns with the worst-case scenario modeled by Japanese seismologists for the Nankai Trough megathrust earthquake. A magnitude 9.1 quake. Triggering a tsunami up to 120 meters high. Potentially killing more than 300,000 people. Permanently reshaping Japan's coastline. But for Tatsuki, that was only the beginning. In her dream, after the destruction, she saw the earth split open, and from the ocean depths rose something unexpected. A new continent. A landmass linking Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines, forming a singular, unfamiliar shape, something never recorded on any known map. I don't know why I saw this, she wrote. But standing on that land, I felt something pure, like the beginning of life again. Another striking element in the dream, the return of the mysterious old man, a recurring figure from her earlier visions. This time, he stood silently in the distance, watching the devastation unfold. And when the tsunami subsided, he disappeared. Was it an ending? Or the beginning of something else? Some readers interpret the two sea dragons as a symbol of dual forces, destruction and rebirth, chaos and order, the old world and the new. Others believe they represent tectonic energy, the Earth's hidden veins, awakening after centuries of dormancy. And then there's the child. The girl who once wept in her earlier dreams, now smiles beneath a red sky, standing on land that never existed before. For many, she is a symbol. Not of survival, but of transcendence. Tatsuki never claimed to be a prophet. She never demanded followers or fame. She simply drew what she saw. But if her final vision proves to be as accurate as the 12 before it, then the world may only have months left before it meets the ocean's reckoning. When fiction begins to mirror the real world, are we still dreaming? From the depths of a dream to the surface of reality, the distance seems immeasurable, until, suddenly, the world begins to shift in the exact same directions a dream once foretold. In the last 2 years, a disturbing number of signs have emerged, strikingly similar to what Tatsuki drew in her final vision. And they're happening now. 1. A surge of earthquakes across Asia. On March 28, 2025, a 6.2 magnitude earthquake rocked northeast Japan. That same day, tremors were felt in Myanmar, Nepal, Bhutan, and even parts of Tibet, all regions sitting on the seismic edge of the Himalayas and Pacific Ring of Fire. In China, a shocking sequence of 16 earthquakes across 12 different provinces followed within a week. Some regions had never experienced tremors before. Experts were baffled. Japan's meteorological agency issued a rare statement. The Nankai Trough is exhibiting anomalous behavior. This does not match any previously recorded seismic cycle. Something deep is stirring. 2. Government warnings in Japan. In early April 2025, the Japanese government issued large-scale tsunami evacuation advisories to over 12 million coastal residents, a move not seen since the 2011 disaster. Official simulations from Japan's Seismic Research Agency reveal. If an earthquake strikes early in the morning, as Tatsuki's dream precisely described, evacuation time could be under 6 minutes. Over 215,000 deaths are expected primarily due to tsunami impact. Entire coastal cities may vanish underwater. They call it the extreme Nankai scenario. But Tatsuki drew this same horror 26 years ago. 3. Strange celestial and atmospheric phenomena. In recent months, bizarre events in the sky have unsettled millions. In Wuhan, Guangdong, and Yunnan, China, residents witnessed the sky turn blood red for nearly an hour, without fire or pollution as explanation. In Hokkaido, Japan, reports described the sun sinking unusually low and appearing as a burning orb, shrouded in a smoky veil. On April 3, in Shaanxi, China, locals saw rice-shaped snowflakes, small, hollow pellets that bounced and burst upon contact with the ground. Experts were left speechless. Online, people began referring to these events as messages from the heavens. 4. The return of Anand, the Indian boy prophet. Abhijit Anand, known as the boy prophet of India who rose to fame for accurately predicting COVID-19, released a new video in March 2025. He warned, between March and July 2025, East and Southeast Asia, especially Japan, Taiwan, and the South China Sea, will face severe disasters. Earthquakes, tsunamis, epidemics, and socio-political unrest will strike simultaneously. July is the peak of the cycle. His predictions eerily align with Tatsuki's. Same regions. Same time frame. Same sense of catastrophic convergence. To make things worse, NASA recently recorded intense solar flares and geomagnetic storms erupting from the sun's surface. Some scientists now suggest these could interact with Earth's magnetic field, potentially destabilizing tectonic plates. 5. The spread of fear and quiet preparation. The reaction isn't only scientific. It's psychological. In Japan, sales of emergency food, batteries, and bottled water have spiked by 200% in a month. In South Korea, searches for tsunami shelters have reached record highs. Evacuation drills are quietly being reintroduced in schools and coastal communities. People may not talk about it loudly, but deep down, many sense it. Something is coming. Every sign, every tremor, every sky turned crimson, feels like a puzzle piece falling into place. If Tatsuki's vision is truly a map, then perhaps we are no longer reading about the future. We are walking straight into it. When the past echoes in the present, and the sky speaks louder than words. History does not unfold in a straight line. It coils, repeats, and sometimes warns. What's unfolding today may not be new, it may be part of an ancient pattern that humanity has forgotten how to read. If we look closely at sacred texts, royal chronicles, and old prophecies from both East and West, we find something remarkable. Every great upheaval in the natural world was preceded by a moral or spiritual crisis among humans. 1. Lu Bowen and the Prophecy of Heaven's Judgment. Nearly 600 years ago, the famed Chinese sage Lu Bowen left behind cryptic writings in his Tuei Bei Tu and Taibai Mountain prophecy. From the year 2020 to 2025, disasters shall rain down from heaven. The corrupt will be eliminated, the virtuous preserved. And from the ashes, a new era shall arise. He described skies turning blood red, water rising from all directions, and the earth splitting to consume the unrighteous, imagery that overlaps uncannily with Tatsuki's final dream. 2. Japan's ancient red sky and the collapse of a dynasty. Historical records from the Nihon Shoki, Japan's oldest surviving chronicle, tell of an eerie phenomenon. In the year 620 AD, the sky above Japan turned crimson for 3 nights straight. 3 months later, Prince Shotoku, a revered ruler, died suddenly. The royal family plunged into internal conflict and bloodshed that lasted over 2 decades. Back then, this was seen as a heavenly omen, a divine signal that balance had been broken. In Tatsuki's illustration, we again see a blood-red sky, just before the waves rise. Could this be more than symbolism? Could collective memory be surfacing again through art? 3. The Eastern concept of Tianren-ganing. In ancient Eastern philosophy, particularly in Confucian and Taoist traditions, there is a concept called Tianren-ganing, the interconnectedness of heaven and man. When morality decays, nature responds. Heaven sends strange signs not to destroy, but to awaken. In this view, natural disasters are not random. They are symptoms of a deeper imbalance, spiritual, ethical, and cosmic. Every blood-colored sun, every ground tremor, every unusual storm might just be the earth whispering, "You've strayed too far." 4. Western Echoes, Nostradamus and the Island of the Sun. From across the world, the 16th century French seer Nostradamus once wrote, "The earth will shake in July. A great wave shall swallow the island of the sun. And from the sea, a land of light shall rise." Many researchers now interpret the island of the sun as Japan, the land of the rising sun. And the idea of a new land rising from the sea? That is the very image Tatsuki depicted, decades later, oceans and cultures apart. 5. A timeless message beneath it all. When we strip away the dates, the locations, and the literal waves, what remains? A message, repeated through centuries. If humanity abandons virtue, the earth will reset the balance. Not to punish us, but to restore harmony. From Lou Bowen to Nostradamus, from ancient omens to modern manga, the voice is the same. It speaks through different tongues, different images, but the message never changes. We are being asked to wake up. To return to compassion, humility, and reverence for life. To choose better, not just for ourselves, but for everything connected to us. Beneath the fear, there may be a message, meant for our time. If the prophecy of July 2025 is real, if the final dream truly points to a coming global upheaval, then perhaps the most important question isn't when it will happen, or how. Perhaps the real question is, why were we shown this in the first place? What are we supposed to learn before it's too late? Among all of Tatsuki's dreams, the final vision stands apart not just in scale, but in tone. It doesn't end with ruin. It ends with a strange calm. After the tsunami, after the earth shakes and the waves subside, she sees a child standing on newly risen land. The sky is still red, the ruins still smolder, but the girl is smiling. It's as if the world has cracked open, not just physically, but spiritually. When everything collapses, Tatsuki wrote, "What remains is not fear. What remains is a choice. The choice isn't about fleeing disaster. It's about how we live before it arrives." Because while the imagery in her dream is terrifying, dragons, destruction, blood-red skies, it is also a mirror. A mirror of the state of humanity. Our greed. Our disconnection from nature. Our silent acceptance of injustice. And so the earthquake may not be the only thing rising from the depths. It could also be a signal, a call to wake up. To restore balance. To realign ourselves with what we've forgotten. Humility, compassion, the sacredness of life. Ancient traditions across cultures speak of the Great Purification, a period when the old, corrupt world falls away, and a new era of consciousness begins. But only those who are prepared in spirit, not in wealth or power, can walk through the fire and into what lies beyond. Perhaps that's why, in Tatsuki's final vision, the crying child from earlier dreams is no longer afraid. She is still here. Still alive. And no longer weeping. As we stand on the edge, what do we carry with us? Will this prophecy come true? Will July 2025 truly bring the great rupture that Tatsuki dreamed of, one that shatters coastlines, swallows cities, and redraws the map of the world? We don't know. Not the scientists. Not the prophets. Not even Tatsuki herself. And yet, as the sky turns red in unexpected places, as the earth rumbles with unusual frequency, as the sea quietly retreats then surges again, something deep within many of us feels the shift. It's not just a fear of nature. It's the echo of something older, an instinct we've tried to forget. A quiet voice that says, "You were warned." But maybe, just maybe, this isn't about doom. Maybe it's about direction. What if the point of the dream wasn't to scare us, but to offer us a map? Not a physical map, but a spiritual compass, one that helps us find our way back when the world starts to shake. Because history has shown, again and again, that in the wake of the greatest destruction, some of the most beautiful renewals have been born. The girl in Tatsuki's dream no longer cries. She smiles beneath a red sky, not because the world is ending, but because something new is beginning. Perhaps this prophecy is not the end of everything. Perhaps it is the end of forgetting, and the beginning of remembering who we truly are. And that, above all else, is worth listening to. When a mystery unfolds, will you look away, or lean in? If this story moved something in you, if a part of you felt the weight of what may come, then perhaps that, too, is part of the message. Don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with those you care about, not to spread fear, but to open a door to awareness. A conversation. A choice. Leave a comment below. Do you believe the prophecy is real? What do you think July 2025 holds for us? Your voice might be the sign someone else needs to wake up. And if you want to keep following the trail of hidden knowledge, spiritual insight, and unexplained warnings from the past and future, subscribe to this channel. Because more mysteries are waiting to be uncovered. And sometimes, the truth isn't hidden. It's just ignored, until it's too late. The terrifying prophecy of 2025 may be approaching. But what comes next, is still ours to decide.